School of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC 004 Accounting for Managers for MBA program. Presenting Block 2 Cost Accounting, Unit 8 Activity-Based Costing.
After completing this unit, you would be able to understand the concept of activity-based costing or ABC and its objectives and features. Identify the difference between traditional costing and ABC. Comprehend the usages of ABC. Recognize the cost drivers and their types, and understand other related terms to ABC or activity-based costing. Introduction. Activity-based costing or ABC is a system of costing where costs are first traced to activities and then to products. This costing system works with an assumption that activities are responsible for the costs that are incurred. As stated earlier, costs are charged to products based on the individual product's use for each activity. The Chartered Institute of Management Accountants UK defines ABC as, and I quote, an approach to the costing and monitoring of activities which involves tracing resource consumption and costing final outputs. Resources are assigned to activities and activities to cost objects based on consumption estimates. The latter utilize cost drivers to attach activity cost to outputs. Unquote. The important issues of the definition are: number 1. ABC is a tactic to the costing and does monitoring of activities in a process. Number 2. It traces the consumption of resources and then the costing of resultant outputs. Number 3. In this, resources are assigned to activities and then activities to cost objects based on consumption estimates. Number 4. It utilizes identified cost drivers to assign activity cost to depicted outputs. Another description of activity-based costing is that it is a two-stage based costing method that allocates indirect cost and overheads to products and services. Some costs are tough to assign to a product or a service. It identifies the connection between overheads and manufactured products and gives indirect cost to the products. The method is less arbitrarily than the traditional costing system. Features of activity-based costing or ABC. Number 1. ABC is a modern approach to the allocation of indirect cost. Cost allocated to each activity symbolize the resources consumed by the activity. Number 2. As done in conventional costing, ABC is not restricted to the allocation of indirect cost to departments. It moves further to identify the individual activity for indirect cost allocation as the lowest unit. Number 3. Based on consumption, resources are allotted to each activity and then to cost objects. Number 4. ABC identifies the activities using the activity cost drivers and results in a more accurate cost calculation. Number 5. This approach facilitates easy identification of cost according to activity's cost driver. Number 6. This costing method is suitable if there is more than one product in the manufacturing line and overheads have a high share in total cost. And number 7. This approach creates a straight cause and effect association with various resources. Development of activity-based costing. Limits of the traditional costing system gave way for the development of ABC. The traditional arrangement segregates cost into fixed and variable. As the business grows, the costs become more complex, and then the traditional approach may not be appropriate for making complex decisions related to production and developing product strategies. The traditional methods facilitate financial reporting and primarily put prominence on calculating overhead rates for the valuation of stocks. It was seen that the traditional absorption costing approach could not go well with multi-product scenarios, so a change was in line. In fact, multiple product scenario or product diversification requires accurate product cost ascertainment due to increasing market competition within the country and internationally. In the 1980s, ABC was first defined by Kaplan and Bruns. It was taken as the modern alternative to absorption costing, which could define product and profitability in a better way. It provides better information to make more effective decisions. Activity-based costing versus traditional costing system. Activity-based costing allows overheads on the basis of various cost pools and activities, whereas traditional costing system assigns overhead based on a single overhead rate. ABC is favorable for technology-driven manufacturing process, whereas traditional costing system is favorable for labor-driven manufacturing process. ABC is favorable when the overhead increase is based on various activities that are different for various products. Whereas traditional costing system is favorable when the overhead increases are based on traditional components like labor hours. Importance of activity-based costing. Number 1. Decision-making is one of the significant functions performed by managers. They may adapt the traditional costing system, which may contain errors in costing due to apportionment and absorption techniques. Here, ABC improves the decision-making process by providing correct and relevant product cost data. Number 2. Multiple cost drivers are used in ABC that are transaction-based than product-based. Cost drivers and rates may also help in the scheming of new products or existing products. Number 3. ABC follows all activities even outside the factory premises to calculate more overheads. For example, besides the product cost, it touches cost to managerial activities, processes, etc. Number 4. ABC focuses on the cause and effect relationship in costing. This is to bring accuracy and reliability in cost determination. These are the products that are said to have consumed activities. And number 5. Due to ABC, cost as per activities become visible and more apparent. It can identify actions not adding value to the product. Managers may put more control over the activities and can control fixed overhead cost created by those activities. Objectives of activity-based costing. Number 1. To recognize several activities in the process of production, including the activities that add value. Number 2. To eliminate the non-value adding activities. Number 3. To put emphasis on the high-cost activities. Number 4. To incorporate activities based on distribution overheads. Number 5. To help in decision-making process in the identification of a suitable price of product and services. Number 6. To ensure accurate and precise cost determination of products and services. And number 7. To find options to improve the process and reduction of cost. Merits and demerits of activity-based costing. Merits. Number 1. Removes cross-subsidization issues. The traditional system gives rise to the issues of over and under costing. Products may be subjected to overcosting, which may result in undercosting of other products. ABC may take care of this issue. ABC puts the role of activities between cost and products and makes the relationship more explicit. Number 2. Deals with complicated processes. There have been growth and development in all walks of life, including production of product and services. Due to this, complications in various processes have risen in the industries too. Now there are cross-linkages in the production process and costing of products. The number of processes and activities involved in production has increased. ABC deals with these complications in costing that emerged due to processes. Number 3. Product customizations. Nowadays, production is being done with many variations in terms of size, design, etc. If the production takes place on one premise, the costing process will need refinement to price the products suitably. ABC helps here. And number 4. Identification of cost-saving chances. In ABC, it is easier to identify cost-saving opportunities. It considers cost to all areas, including various processes, products, managerial responsibility, customers, departments, etc. It removes the issues related to the error of estimation. In this system, costs are managed in the long run by controlling the activities that drive them. In other words, the aim is to manage the activities rather than cost. By managing the forces that cause the activities, that is, cost drivers, cost will be managed long term. Collecting and reporting on the significant activities a business engages in makes it possible to understand and manage cost more effectively. Demerits. Number 1. A complex system. ABC works with various cost pools and drivers. It is assumed to be more complex than the traditional system of product costing. This is one of the demerits. In fact, selection of drivers, common cost, driver rates, etc. put forward a complex system. Number 2. Product and process should be fully known. One of the significant demerits is that the people who are employing ABC usually require significant experience in the products and processes of the industry. ABC is preferred if the firm uses cost plus pricing, whereas market-based prices may not favor it. Number 3. Rely on a sophisticated system. ABC requires a minimum level of information technology in the organization. Much data is needed and processed for implementing a particular decision. Small and new organizations may not take full advantage of ABC due to poor information technology systems. Number 4. Consumes a lot of time and efforts. ABC is a time-consuming process. It comprises a number of steps and a lot of groundwork to start and complete the process. Organizations may put time and effort if they get utility out of the process. As mentioned earlier also, large manufacturing firms can utilize it better than the small firms. And number 5. Increase in indirect costs. Due to the high involvement of technology in ABC, indirect costs rise significantly. Process of activity-based costing. There are 2 stages in ABC costing. Number 1, tracing cost to activities, and number 2, tracing activities to products. There are mainly 4 steps involved in the ABC. Number 1, identification of the organizational activities and manufacturing process. For ABC, it is indispensable to study the organizational activities and manufacturing process to determine the number of stages involved. By this, all the activities involved in producing the product or service can be identified. ABC believes that activities cause cost. Number 2, Classify the factors which determine the cost of an activity known as cost drivers. According to CIMA, and I quote, cost driver is any factor which causes a change in the cost of an activity. For example, the quality of parts received by an activity is determining factor in the work required by that activity and therefore affects the resources required. An activity may have multiple cost drivers associated with it. Unquote. As per this definition, in the traditional system of product costing, the number of cost drivers can be identified as direct labor hours, units produced, etc. In ABC, cost drivers are related more closely to the consumption of resources and activities. As mentioned earlier, ABC considers that activities bring about cost, so they are linked and the identified cost drivers are the linkages amid them. Number 3. Identify the costs of each activity known as cost pools. The cost pool concept is similar to the concept of the cost center. CIMA defines cost pool as, and I quote, the point of focus for the cost relating to a particular activity in an activity-based costing system. Unquote. It is the sum total of the cost elements allotted to an activity. The cost pool is taken as the point of focus to assign the total cost to an activity. Number 4. Charge cost to the products. It is known that ABC is the method of tracing and assigning cost from resources to activities and then from activities to specific products. The system tries to charge the indirect cost to the products and services. Few other terms. Activity-based costing and activity-based management. Similarities and differences between ABC and ABM are presented as similarities. Both ABC and ABM help in managing business activities and improving the performance of an organization. Now let's understand the difference between activity-based costing, that is ABC, and activity-based management, that is ABM. Number 1. The ABC relates to the cost measurement and the presentation of the various activities. It relates cost drivers to activities. But the ABM put emphasis on the activities as a way for refining the value obtained, as it identifies several activities and processes that customer needs and pay for. Number 2. The ABC may be called a subsection of ABM. And number 2. The ABC may be called a subsection of ABM. It helps refine the costing by outlining the numerous expenses like salaries, rent, etc. to activities. Activity-based budgeting or ABB. ABB is dissimilar from traditional budgeting as it makes available a relation amid the aims of an organization and a specific activity. Traditional budgeting is built on a traditional costing system based on allocation, apportionment, and absorption of overheads. ABB needs to identify, number 1, various activities of the business. Number 2, identify the elements that create cost and their drivers. Number 3, then cost pools are created to collect the cost of the activities. ABB involves classification of the activities and allocating them into value-adding and non-value-adding activities. In due course, the non-value-adding activities are removed. Features of ABB are: number 1, it relates cost to activities. Number 2, further, it identifies opportunities for cost improvement. Now let's take an activity. Suppose that you are appointed the cost accountant in a banking company. Then you must follow the steps of ABC to evaluate the cost of various types of bank credits. Step 1. Classify activities. Many activities may be identified which may involve number 1, analyzing client applications, number 2, customers' meetings, number 3, creating credit reports, etc. Step 2. Allocate cost to the identified activities. Cost allotted to the activity of, suppose, analyzing client applications may be as number 1, salary of staff analyzing and reviewing applications, number 2, cost of technology involved, number 3, supplies needed, etc. Step 3. Categorize the cost driver. Number 1, meeting time with the clients may be in hours. Number 2, number of applications analyzed. Number 3, number of credit reports created, etc. Step 4. Estimate overhead proportion for identified activity. Number 1. Divide estimated overhead cost of each activity by the cost driver. Number 2. For reviewing client applications, the calculation results in a rate per application reviewed. Step 5. Apportion overheads to products. Number 1. Then overheads are assigned to loans or products. And number 2, if you review 50 applications, total equal to the 50 into rate per application reviewed is assigned to the loans. Limitations of activity-based costing. Number 1. ABC requires ample investment of money and time and needs trained professionals. A small organization may not have these. Number 2. ABC further requires support from top management, otherwise process cannot be completed efficiently. Number 3. ABC being a bit complex requires the compilation of a number of records and complex calculations. Number 3. ABC being a bit complex requires the compilation of a number of records and complex calculations. As mentioned earlier also, it may be suitable for large organizations, but traditional cost accounting may be more favorable for smaller ones due to its simplicity. And number 4, cost determination may not be easy as single cost support several activities. Now let's summarize the unit. Activity-based costing or ABC is a system of costing where costs are first traced to activities and then to products. This costing system works with an assumption that activities are responsible for the incurrence of cost. As stated earlier, costs are charged to products based on the individual products used for each activity. ABC is an approach to costing and does monitoring of activities. It involves tracing resource consumption and then costing of final outputs. In this, resources are assigned to activities and then activities to cost objects based on consumption estimates. It utilizes cost drivers to attach activity cost to outputs. Another description of activity-based costing is that activity-based costing is a two-stage product costing method that assigns indirect cost and overheads to products and services. Some indirect costs are difficult to assign to a product. As it recognizes the relationship between overheads and manufactured products, it assigns indirect cost to products. The assignment is less arbitrarily than traditional costing methods. Limitations of the traditional costing system gave way for the development of ABC. The traditional system segregates cost into fixed and variable. As the business grows, the cost becomes more complex. Then, the traditional method may not be appropriate for making complex decisions related to production and developing product strategies. The traditional methods facilitate financial reporting and primarily put prominence on calculating overhead rates for the valuation of stocks. It was seen that the traditional absorption costing approach could not go well with multi-product scenarios, so a change was in line. In fact, multiple product scenarios or product diversification require accurate product cost ascertainment due to increasing market competition within the country and internationally. Merits of the ABC are that it removes cross-subsidization issues. It deals with complicated processes and product customizations. It identifies cost-saving opportunities. Demerits include that it is a complex system. It is an issue that product and process should be fully known. It requires and relies on a sophisticated system. It consumes a lot of time and efforts. It increases indirect cost. Due to the high involvement of technology in ABC, indirect costs rise significantly. For ABC, it is indispensable to study the organizational activities and manufacturing process to determine the number of stages involved. By this, all the activities involved in producing the product or service can be identified. ABC believes that activities cause cost. Limitations of ABC are that ABC requires ample investment of money and time and needs trained professionals. A small organization may not have these. ABC further requires support from top management, otherwise process cannot be completed efficiently. ABC, being a bit complex, requires the compilation of a number of records and complex calculations. As mentioned earlier also, it may be suitable for large organizations, but traditional cost accounting may be more favorable for smaller ones due to its simplicity. Cost determination may not easy as single cost support several activities. The ABC relates to the cost measurement and the performance of the various activities. It relates cost drivers to activities. But the ABM or the activity-based management focuses on the management of activities to improve the value obtained as it identifies a number of activities and processes that customer needs and pay for. ABB or activity-based budgeting is different from traditional budgeting as it links the organization's objectives and particular activity. Traditional budgeting is based on the traditional costing system based on allocation, apportionment, and absorption of overheads.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program course code MMPC 004 Accounting for Managers. Course Coordinator Professor Kamal Bagrecha, School of Management Studies IGNOU. Voiceover by Harpreet Kaur. Edited by Ruchi Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.